Hello and welcome to the Soulful of It podcast, where the cosmos meet the cards and the mundane becomes magical. I'm your guide, Kari Raquel, and this episode is the reboot. Now, let's fill up your cup until you're soul full of it. If we wait until we're ready, we'll be waiting for the rest of our lives. This quote might sound familiar to you if you read Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, and I felt like it was an appropriate way to step into what is the first episode that I've put out in just over 3 years. So to get us started, I'd like to introduce our guest for this episode, which is the elephant in the room. You might be wondering, where did she go? What happened? It's been 3 fucking years. That's a long time. That's a lot of rotations. And I'm here to tell you so many stories and so many nuggets of wisdom. And there's no way for me to share all of that here in this episode. But I want to let you in on a secret, which is that I have been cooking up so much creativity over these last few years as I have been processing so much grief and so much change and so much wonder and beauty and all the good things and the bad things alike. And it truly was a series of unfortunate events that brought upon this hiatus, essentially, of the podcast 3 years ago. And if you were a listener before and you're a listener now, I owe you a really big thank you and also a quick sorry. Because I'm sorry that I went missing in action, and I'd like to make it up to you if you'll give me the opportunity with the reboot of this podcast, with the reimagining of what this podcast is about and what it can do and bring into the world and into your life as an individual who is taking time out of your day to listen to a little bit of my cosmic hot takes and tarot tidbits and all that good stuff, which will be coming. But I did want to just connect and provide some context and insight and share a little bit of the wisdom that I have gathered from the experiences that I've had, the good, the bad, one might say everything, everywhere, all at once. And if you know what that is, then you pick up what I'm putting down. So let's get into it. Let's talk about, where did I go? What's been going on? Well, not podcasting, clearly, but what led to my unexpected departure, as I've already hinted, was a series of unfortunate events. I met grief, is the way that I'll put that. I lost somebody very, very special and important and close to me, and I hadn't really processed it when that last podcast episode came out on the 1st of December in 2021. It was so fresh, less than 2 weeks fresh. And about 2 weeks later, after that podcast went out, was my 30th birthday. And it was a lot of big feelings wrapped up in a lot of shots of alcohol in Las Vegas. So you can imagine how that may have gone for me. And what I didn't know then, that I found out just days after Christmas, was that my dad was going to go into cardiac arrest and be hospitalized. Now, if you know anything about cardiac arrest, you know that it means that the heart stops beating. And that's really bad for the human experience. Most people do not survive that. So it's one of those things that can be delicate to breathe hope into. But that is absolutely where I found myself as I drove through the night with my sister 10 hours to the state of Montana to be with my father as he fought for his life. And I'm happy to share that he is still with us and he is very, very lucky to be alive. It was there in the ICU that I realized I would not be getting the episode out for the January transits and tarot of 2022. What I didn't know was that it was going to take 3 years to really heal from the loss that I had experienced and really what felt like my first front row seat in the theater that is grief and loss, somewhere that every single one of us at some point in our lives has or will find ourselves in the audience of. And I know that might be a kind of interesting way of describing grief, but for me it's made the most sense because I have skirted the edges of that theater setting. I have watched other people cry over massive losses, but I myself had never really had a front row seat. And the thing about sitting in the front row is that you just simply cannot look away. Instead, in order to process it, you are tasked with the responsibility of looking within, because that is the only place that you are really going to find answers. And by answers, I don't mean why did this person go or why did this thing happen to me. Of course, we're human. We want to ask those big questions. But when I say answers, I mean, what am I meant to learn from this? What am I meant to make of this? And I've got a few theories. I do believe with a Mars cycle of approximately 2 years, it takes you 2 years to get through truly processing the biggest, heaviest part of any major grief, loss, or trauma. And that, I think, applies to every type. So it could be the end of a relationship. Maybe the person didn't die, but they're dead to you. Or it could be the loss of a job, of an opportunity that you had your heart set on, the loss of a friend, the loss of a season of life. If you have children, watching them grow up, now they maybe don't want you to hold their hand. Maybe that's a loss for you. Or maybe it is the grief and loss of someone departing this planet for the next, insert your theory or belief here. Regardless of what it is, grief, loss, we're all going to experience traumas in life. And that is very much where I found myself in a season of learning how to live through life's biggest challenges that I've yet to face, and also being humbled by the wisdom inside me that says, oof, it could get a lot harder than this. It probably will. Buckle up. Let's learn some fucking skills here. Let's go to therapy. Let's make some magic out of this when we have the chance to. And that's where this podcast comes in. And I want to kind of touch on what that looks like moving forward. And I'll be honest with you, it's a question mark. I don't know yet, but I will know. I do have a vision, and I've been spinning my wheels, and I've been playing around with some ideas and some potential guests, and I have never, ever stopped dreaming. I have never stopped talking about astrology like it's normal to everyday people that I encounter and people who are used to my astrologically infused language. And I have never stopped pulling cards. In fact, in the last couple of months here at the end of 2024, I have been pulling more cards. I have been looking at more astrological charts, and I've had my eye on 2025 because hot damn, what a year we have in store for us. I almost feel like it would be a disservice to not only myself, but anyone willing and wanting to listen if I did not share what I have to say about the cosmos and what the cards have to say about it too. So that's something that I plan to bring back in the new year. And I wanted to share with you all 3 lessons that I learned in the last 3 years while we've been apart. Let's count them down. Number 3, forgiveness is a form of freedom. This lesson is one that I really learned my 21st summer, and it's come up for me again in the last 3 years in some pretty profound ways. And here's what I can tell you I know to be true. Forgiveness does free you when you forgive yourself. It also frees other people and you when you forgive other people. Forgiveness is truly a win-win. And it's something that our society, in many ways, I feel has forgotten because we're so stuck in wanting people to fit into the box that they create for themselves. And we don't encourage people to change their minds and be curious in the ways that would encourage them to grow, ultimately. And so for me, forgiveness, it's a verb. It's something that you do. You forgive. Forgive yourself. Forgive others. It's gratitude in motion. And it's something that has really helped me move through some of the biggest challenges I've faced in these last 3 years. Number 2, peace is a practice. Keep practicing. I've had to practice it again and again. And sometimes the rules of the game of peace and practicing change because sometimes you have to pursue the practice of peace. And that means you might have to remove the peace takers. And that can be people, that can be environments, that can also be you and the stories that you're telling yourself that are robbing you of your peace in everyday moments that could otherwise go from mundane to magical. The choices that you make will shape the person that you become. Remember that it's a practice. Keep practicing. Number 1, safety is a prerequisite for authenticity. I'm going to say that again because I think it's important. Safety is a prerequisite for authenticity. If you feel like you are not showing up as your authentic self, I want you to ask yourself what I asked myself because I think it brought a lot of clarity. And if you're in a space where you can do this with me now, I encourage you to drop in, close your eyes, place your hand or hands on your heart, and ask yourself, do I feel safe? And how can I create safety? And how can I share with those around me how they can help me create and reinforce a feeling of safety, that I can be my authentic self? Because that is the key that unlocks the door for you to begin to show up courageously as who you truly are, which is a work of art in progress. It is in motion, just like forgiveness. It is perhaps a practice, just like peace is. Safety is something that you can create even when you do not feel safe. And it's not easy. It's something you have to work towards sometimes. And it also requires some weeding of the garden. Oh, I don't feel safe in this particular environment. Let's get curious about that. Oh, I don't feel safe in this relationship. Let's get curious about that. If we can be courageous enough to be curious, everything can shift. And that is the wisdom I want to share in this episode. Those 3 lessons to me really speak to what the last 3 years showed me firsthand. And I feel ready, even though I do not at all feel ready to be back, to be sharing my truths and my insights and highlighting the voices of others and collaborating again and creating, because we live in a consumption society. So to create is a radical act of resistance to the status quo and a willingness to awaken in a world that profits off of you staying asleep. So wake up, fill your cup. We are crashing the algorithm. Baby, I'm back. This is the Soulful of It podcast. Thank you for listening to the Soulful of It podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please go give us a rating and help us revive this thing.